Hey, Pastor. So glad to see you here today. Welcome back to my podcast, Pastors Thriving, where I'm your host, Kevin. I get to meet you to talk about strategies to help you with leading a church in ministry and in money. And I am so privileged to be able to introduce you to my friend, Samuel.
Yeah.
Sam is a pastor, not just a pastor. Sam's a pastor from Uganda. He is also part of my family. We've adopted him as our family. And I'm going to introduce you to his ministry in I almost said Kenya, in Uganda, to work with his church, but more importantly than that, his orphanage that he oversees. Sam has become such an integral part of our family, and I got to go over there and meet him. You guys have heard me talk a little bit about my experience with Africa and taking my son Austin over there and getting to visit all of these children, but I suspect that this is going to be a kind of a multifaceted podcast, more than just one episode. So join me in welcoming my friend Sam today. And Sam, tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce us to your family, and then start us with your story.
Wow. Wow. I feel so humbled. Uh, I've been pastoring for over 10 years, but I never have such a talk like this on Zoom. So I want to thank God to have my first conversation on Zoom with you, Pastor Kevin. I don't know how to start, where to start it, but I'm Pastor Samuel Kaemba. You can call me Sam K. I am, I am, I, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior at a young age of 14 years. I choose to give my life to Christ when I was 14 years, but I give my life to Jesus when I was 14 years on the street, when I have no home, and through the preachers who preach on the street that I used to joke with, and I tell them that all those they are talking about is rubbish.
Wow.
But after I get to choose that, after I hear that the Lord can save me, can give me a new life, a new family. So after I hear that for years on the street, as a street child, I say, let me try Jesus. And then I give my life to Christ. I think I was 14 years like that, because I even not sure when I was born.
Wow.
But I can guess I was 14 years and I gave my life to Christ. Up to now, I'm still believing in the Lord, and I know I'm on the way to heaven.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, talk us through a little bit, Sam, about your childhood. What about up to those 14 years? I mean, you mentioned that you grew up on the street, but what was it? Did you know your parents at all?
Yeah, for really, I grow, I get to know my life just living on the street life with street kids, eating in the dusty bin nearby the big hotels in Kampala. Uh, and we just stand there, and when we see people bring some dust and we find some good food there in the dustbin, and we eat and we leave.
Hmm.
So that's how we used to survive on the street. And in the night, you find somewhere you sleep behind the Lord house, you stand, no time much to sleep. Even when it comes for rain, we used to stand and just to survive.
Wow.
That's the kind of life, and it kills me that still many street kids at the Lords of Kampala.
Yeah.
That's killing me so much.
Wow. You know, it's
That's
it's
life.
hard, Sam, it's really difficult for someone like me or for us over here in the United States to be able to fully understand what it's like to live on the streets. being a child, having to fight for food, having to, look for a place to sleep at night or to be safe or even to find clean water. How difficult was that for your emotions, for your feeling? What were you afraid of?
Time comes when you have no way, you have nothing to do with that, and you get to realize with other children that we are bastardy, maybe we have no family, we are just bastardy, nobody like us. Even you look at the rich people, you look people driving cars when they don't even care about who you are,
Wow.
and you choose to live in that life and know that maybe that's how I have to be in life.
Wow. What were some of the things uh that were kind of terrifying to you in those seasons? I mean, it couldn't have been safe for you guys to live on the streets like that. What were some of the things you faced?
I have seen children die, and when we have nowhere to take them, and we just put them in the sewage and they run and go. A lot of things happen. We see people get killed. When we see in the night time, a lot of terrible things happen that I even can't explain here because of the government issues.
Yeah.
But in the night time, when you're on the street, a lot of happen. You have to keep your eyes closed. I don't see anything.
Wow. So corruption is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So
Wow.
that is the street life.
Wow. And so you're saying that there's a huge problem with orphans or street children even to this day. Why is it such a big problem in Uganda?
Most children come when I get to realize why it's like that. Most children come when they are refugees from different countries, Sudan, Congo, Rwanda, and they come in refugee. And when they come in refugees, they find out there is no food in refugee camps. And the World Food Program can show that they provide food there, but they give family of 5 children some kilograms of beans, and that they can't survive with that.
Yeah.
So children, they run out from the refugee and run to Kampala, you know, because refugee camp can't settle all of the families.
Okay.
Sometimes that is what I hope that bring a lot of street children. And the other thing is that children, their parents die. At my age, when I was on street, a lot of children were having AIDS. They die because of AIDS.
Yeah.
Their parents die because of AIDS. And that the village, when they get to know that your parents die because of AIDS, they abandon you. A lot of those challenges that's caused the children to come on the street.
Wow. That's heartbreaking. So there's a lot of children. Are you saying there's a lot of children that are living on the street right now?
Yeah, and you are going to see that after the Lord has built for us an orphanage home. He told me that we have to build an orphanage that can keep 200, but for really, after all is done, we may have more
Yeah.
orphans.
Yeah.
Because for me, I can't sleep when I know that they are there who have nowhere to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so let's talk about that for just a minute. So let's go all the way back to that time frame when you said you got saved at 14 years old. Now, previously during some of our other conversations, you had talked to me about a woman that God had put in your path to help you. Talk to me about that.
There was a woman called Mami Ruth. She used to come on the street preaching the gospel, singing, and tell people that Jesus saves. But After time, I go to her and I say, "Are you sure of what you are talking?" After she finished preaching, and say, "Yes, I mean what I'm preaching here." And I say, "If you mean it, can you take me to your home and get for me something to do, because I really can't live here?" And she said, at the first time, she said, "No, but if you want to give your life to Christ, I promise you the Lord will change your life." And I accept, and she prayed for me, and I believe God. So the next week, she come and I go to her. I say, "Now, why don't you take me to your place?" And say, "Okay, I will take you, but you have to work some work, and I give you food." And she take care of me, and I start live there as his son. But
Wow.
she was old, and she passed away when she take me some little back on school, and I learned some little English. And but after that, she was a good woman to me,
Wow.
and she passed away. So
Wow.
when she passed away, I was knowing some people who understanding her and what she did to me, and they take me to a coffee factory to work there. So my education ended there, but and I left the family because they don't want me to leave. I was leaving because of that woman.
Wow.
So I started working the coffee factory, and I joined the church. The factory was this side of Mitiana, and I left Kampala and come to Mitiana to work.
Okay.
So so
Wow.
that's where I started my life. But I promise God that the day I will start working, I will rescue two kids and live with them. So that's what I did when I started working the coffee factory, and I rescued two of the young children on the street, and starting that is where the heart of helping orphans started.
How old do you think you were when you decided to take in these two kids?
At this moment, I was like 19, something like that.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you a couple other questions about Mommy Ruth. How
Mm.
hard was it for you when she passed away, being really the only significant person that you had ever had in your life?
Already she was good to me, but I was used with the life that they treat me to. There was nothing big. I was growing. A good thing I was having a work to do. I was knowing how to live in the life with people. So I say that she told me you meet him in heaven, and I was strong with that.
Wow. Was it emotional for you?
Sometimes I think about her, but she told me to don't worry about anything.
Wow.
About me, I'm going to the Father. She was one to go.
Wow. That's amazing.
She was one to go. But what killed me is the family that sent me away after she passed away. And that still also a pain on my heart, because they never think that I may be a person that I am today. But Mom Ruth knows that one day I'll be something.
Wow. Yeah, that must have been very difficult. Okay, so
Yeah,
19 years old, you decide and tell the Lord that you're going to start rescuing other orphans on the street, and you take in two of them. Was Tony one of those?
yeah, but I never. But yeah, Tony was the first one that but it was a young. I pick a young one that will not be a big problem to me to care.
All right.
At that moment, I was old, and it was I were knowing him, the location, and I choose to go and pick him.
Wow. Wow. So Tony's been with you all that time. And now Tony's 24 years old, is that right?
Right, right, right.
And we'll have to
But
share Tony's
but
story
dad,
another time.
but dad, you have to know that we just guess
Right.
the years. We never know when really we were born.
Yeah.
Even Tony doesn't know that.
So let's talk about that. I've shared that a couple times, but so you guys have a big birthday celebration on January 1st of every year.
Yeah, it's because of my I just choose those is a is a date where all of us can celebrate. It's just easy to remember that January 1st and the day also people celebrate and buy a lot of food. So we choose that to be the birthday for all of us because we don't care about birthdays. Just we want to see that we celebrate it.
Yeah. It's another year of life, survival for you
Yeah,
guys, for you. My goodness. Okay, so 19
yeah.
years old, you start with two kids. How did you keep adding kids after that?
You know that I was renting a one single room, but I buy a small mattress and we sleep together, and we were okay. But I never knew that I will. That's the day God called me when I rescued those two. Because for me, I was no, I'm going to help honor those two. But it was maybe God's mission to start a work in me to
Wow.
help more.
Wow.
In my heart, I was thinking that I am going to help only these two, but it started to be in my heart a desire to see that I just give them aloof. My mission was not to feed them, was not to just to pick them from the street and have a place where they can sleep. But I get to know that this is a responsibility that God has brought in my life to take care of them.
Yeah. Wow.
But at first, I never think about that because in my mind there was nothing there. Because I know we live on the street, just we we don't care about any other things. We don't care about clothes. We don't care about what to eat. The big problem was where to sleep
Yeah.
on the street. So if
Wow.
you give a street children where to sleep, you did something better
Wow.
for them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so you went from two kids to now you have over 100 kids that you are giving a place to sleep. Now you're providing for them food. You've been helping them with clothing, with education, with medical, so many different things. How did you grow this to over 100 children, and how are you taking care of all of them?
You know that when you were here, you told me, Sam, what do you fear? But for real, that's what I fear in my life to take care of those many children. It's make me fear every day, a lot of fear,
Wow.
because I wake up when I don't know how to care for them, where I will get food. Just I wake up and say, God, do your will. When we find food, we eat. When we don't find food, we rest. So that's how we life is.
Yeah. Okay, so talk us through that. What does that look like? Do these kids get to eat regularly? Do they not eat regularly?
For the old children, they don't get, they understand the situation. But for the young one, you see, you can find them cry. You can find them look so skinny, something like that. That make my heart so painful because for them they don't know why all those happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes they question me, where are our parents, why we don't live like the other children who wear nice clothes, who have families, and those difficult questions.
Wow.
So that's what I fear when they question me. Oh,
That's hard, isn't it?
it's hard.
You don't really have the answers for them, do you?
Come on, Dad.
You don't really have the answers to tell them, do you? Did I lose you?
Yes, Dad, I think you have seen everything when you are here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's something very, very difficult. Very difficult. There was a time I said, God, I'm about to give up, and I look where they can go back on the street when it's rain, when they have nowhere to sleep, and I say, God, I have to fight. Even if you left me with nothing, I don't need to let them go back to that life, because I know that life, and how terrible it is.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the really difficult moments that you guys have experienced?
You know, wake up and see a child die on the street like a bird, something that can't come out from my mind.
Hmm.
When nobody crying, you know,
Nobody cares.
nobody cares. Oh, that's the terrible thing, that.
That is terrible. It's terrible.
And you have to know that here in Uganda, a parent can get a child and want to put a baby in the latrine, because they don't have a love for those babies. Some of them, they were rescued by the people after hear the baby crying. A lot of terrible things happen.
Mhm. So if you didn't understand what Sam just said, he said that they will put the baby in the latrine because they don't care. They don't have a way to
because they
these kids.
because they don't want it.
Yeah.
In America, I hear they have a program where they can a parent should adopt a child, they can put it in is it adoption place or something.
Mm.
But here we don't have that.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. So how do these kids come to you, or how do you find them?
Some of the children were brought by the community people, and they say this one have no parents, you have to take care of them and you have to accept. And some of them, they were brought by the police after they follow up and they find out the parent maybe past died, killed himself and left the child. Some of them, we find names for them, because you can find a child with not, you have to have two names, and you have to name the name. I ask friend to name those two. Yeah, so that's the way
Wow.
they live.
It's amazing to me. Hey, so this is just part one of the interview I had with Pastor Samuel Kayemba of Mityana, Uganda, and over his story and his work with orphans. And so, in this first part of this episode, you're hearing a little bit about his own story, his own experience, and then some of what has happened with him starting to begin this orphanage and take in children off the street to the space now where they have 114 children that they're watching on a consistent daily basis. They're in charge of oversight of providing these kids with food and shelter and clothing and medical and education and all the things. It is very much an uphill battle. It is very much over his head. He does not have the resources to do this day in and day out, but somewhere along the way, our paths have crossed, and we have started working with Sam to be able to bring recognition to his story and hope to the outcome that they're experiencing and facing. So I want to invite you back to part 2 of this episode. I'm going to share it next week, and you'll get to hear a little bit more of the story. I would say it's not the conclusion of the story, it's just the next part. But listen, I'm going to put in the show notes today a little bit of information about our nonprofit organization, Sparrow Village Initiatives, which is designed to help directly with Sam to get him the funding that he needs on a consistent basis to be able to care for these kids. We are a 501c3 nonprofit here in the United States. So everything that you would want to donate or help with goes directly to help Sam. It is tax deductible. 93% of your donation goes to help them over there. We reserve 7% of that funding to help with administrative costs here on our end. But just know, no one is getting paid for this. There is no staff member. There is no person getting paid to do this. It really is just to handle whatever administrative costs that we have as we incur as an organization, because there are always some. So prayerfully process that and see if there might be some ways that you can help. Currently, the need basis that we have with Sam is finishing up our first cash flow business. We're actually in the process right now of helping them build a car wash that will actually generate cash for them. By the time it launches, it should be able to produce the financial needs they have to be able to take care of their rent and their food on a consistent basis, which is phenomenal. And then we'll move into collecting funds to build the orphanage itself. So if you would feel so compelled to be able to help with something like that, maybe just want to do a one-time gift when it comes to their needs, or maybe there's something more ongoing. We definitely need some ongoing support to be able to help them in the meantime. If you would be so inclined to do that, check out our link. It's called zephy.com. And that will be in the show notes, a link that takes you right to our giving portal. And just know that your donation will go to help them over there. We'll make sure that they get the funding and that they can have that as it becomes available. So thanks for being a part of my show today. I pray that you're well blessed and encouraged. If I can do anything to help you or encourage you, don't hesitate to let me know. Until next time, we'll see you then.